Sounds good. Thank you very much for coming out. It's an awesome turnout tonight. Really appreciate that there's so much support for all of these guys speaking and girls. And so I won't speak much myself. I'll leave it up to everyone else. So just to introduce, we've got Tim from Bound, we've got Jamie from Spin Lizzy, Catherine from The Front Room, we've got Rob, he does Fixation Studios, Ben from Ernest Way, and we've got Dames from Juice Records, Glenn from Closer, 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 and Chris and Tom from Open. So moving on, we've got Mistress SIRENA, who she was the promoter in the 90s, and she's got a wealth of knowledge, and she's always got an eye on the future. So I'm going to pass over, and she's got some great talking points with the guys. So thank you very much again, and then we'll have a chat right at the end.
Well, welcome everybody. I have to say how delighted I am to be here with what is now 3 decades of not just techno, but electronic and dance music enthusiasts. So tonight we're going to talk about the future, okay? We're going to talk about collaboration and how strong the scene just seems right now. So I think to start things off, we're going to talk about, well, begin where it started, and that's with Dames of Juice Records. So perhaps Dames can just tell us a little, not too much Dames, but you know, if it wasn't for Dames, and actually I'm going to indulge myself here a little bit because I don't know, it was life-changing, like being on the dance floor in the 90s, hearing these new sounds. Like I will never ever forget that experience. I know there's some of you out there, some old faces, who would remember that, some original crew out there. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to pass it over to Dames. Dames, tell us, 30 years on, what's happening with Juice Records?
Thank you. As you can see, I don't use microphones. 30 years of Juice Records. It's obviously a very long time ago, and I pinch myself that you know, all this time has gone by and still here trying to produce electronic music or techno, and still involved with a really good community of people. What happened 30 years ago kind of just was the right kid, right place, right time. Adelaide had a burgeoning music scene with import records coming in every week. I was fortunate enough to be working in a record shop, which was Central Station, and got very close to the new music that was coming in. It sounded new, fresh, exciting, and you know, it was like a calling. I was fortunate enough that I was very good friends with a DJ by the name of HMC, who was playing all the music that I loved out in the nightclubs, which is where I met a group of people who were like-minded. We all loved to be challenged by new out there music, and soon of making all these friendships, of which Tony and Danos there in the back corner, we kind of came together as a small group of friends outside of the nightclubs, hanging out together, putting music equipment together and starting to make the music that was coming in on import records. Soon enough, we were thinking about making music for the nightclubs ourselves, and sure enough, a record seemed the most obvious choice. And then within the space of 5 to 6 years, there was 20 odd records behind us. We'd had international distribution, you know, amazing reviews from all our peers over in Europe and America, and we were considered, you know, the hub and the starting point of techno in the Southern Hemisphere. You know, it didn't actually exist in Melbourne. It didn't exist in Sydney. You know, they had their music scenes, but they didn't have a techno culture that was already thriving to rival what was happening in cities across the globe. What people might find a bit strange today, or I know that there's a really good scene here, But you would get parties with 500 to 600 people celebrating like really full-on music. Now, I don't know if you have those numbers out there these days, but that's what was happening. So the scene was like perfectly suited to a record label coming into existence and being supported by a local crew. Now I know Greg here has a shop, and he'd probably freak out at the number of records that you'd be able to sell in Adelaide 30 years ago. Our first release, which was the life support system by HMC, we sold nearly 500 copies locally, which is unheard of today. You can't even sell 500 copies across Europe. It's very, very difficult. So that's the size of scale of music scene that existed here. And so we were very successful for a number of years. We were communicating with all of our peers, so the likes of Richie Horton and John Aquaviva, who helped us establish manufacturing overseas, and getting a seal of approval from our peers like Underground Resistance, who would come to Australia and actively mention Juice Records in their interviews and things like that. So we considered ourselves part of this movement that was global, but it was happening here in Adelaide. And we're just very grateful of the success that we had, not just locally, but internationally as well.
Right, what's happening now, James? What's going on with Juice?
Okay, well, the music climate is very, very different, and I have absolutely no idea how it works unless I become like a social media guru, which is not going to happen. It's more, I guess, the younger crew who have their finger on the pulse for what might be happening and how to do things. But for me, to be a legitimate techno record, and this is, from my perspective, not necessarily has to be anybody else's, piece of vinyl is integral to that. And producing vinyl. So we did do that last year.
I was going to ask you, James, I was going to ask, I looked for some Juice tracks. I couldn't find any of the back catalogue. Are you ever going to release them digitally?
Well, not really. No, I don't think we need to. Look, I love the idea of Juice Records being, this very underground, hard to find catalogue of music. And I don't know. I'm not entirely sold on the whole reissue of every record ever made, which is what's kind of happening out there. But we did release an album last year, which was Anthony Coppins, just sitting back over there. And that was our first release in probably 8 to 10 years. So we're not an active record label playing a part as the music industry. We're just a bunch of guys, guys that I consider my friends, that are music makers. We're just a small group of fellas that like getting together and making music, and with the goal of putting out records. But even the record climate is different today than what it was, say, 30 years ago. What used to cost $1.80 to manufacture is now probably $12.80 to manufacture.
Plus, I've heard the backlog from COVID.
We used to be able to go from manufacturing a record, from sending a DAT tape to the manufacturer, to getting it back here in Australia, shipped in turnaround time of 6 weeks. Then we'd have a distributor buy 200-300 copies of us at a time and pay for it in advance. Whereas today, you've got a 6-month turnaround, you pay for your vinyl in advance, and then your distribution deals really aren't as lucrative like they were all those years ago. So it's a very, very different climate, and I don't personally fit into it as easy, purely because of how I would think it should run. It's quite different to how it does run today.
So give me that mic. So James is Adelaide's original techno rebel, right? So, okay, thanks, James.
Thank you.
Right, so Ben. Long time coming. Let's tell us about Ernest's Way, okay?
I can sit down here. So I suppose I started the label to give myself an opportunity to release the music that I've been making. I'm not really, after thinking about it for a long time, making a lot of music over the years, I kind of figured that there was no real need for me to go. There's no real need for me to go and get someone else to help me put my music out. And so I figured the best thing that I could probably do was to make my own channel and kind of start that off myself, and hopefully if I could keep it afloat for a while, then open up a channel for others to come and release music. There's not many channels here at the moment, and it can be quite difficult. So I figured that was probably a good contribution that I could make off my own back. Yep.
So, and this one's for both you two. So Nighttime Drama, compilation. Okay. So yeah, how important are projects like Nighttime Drama? It's Adelaide based, is that right? It's a compilation, digital releases, and I mean, is that the way forward, do you think? Or is it a different audience that you're selling those digital releases to?
Firstly, I suppose compilations are always good. You're bringing together a bunch of people. They can learn a lot from each other. They can also get connected to each other's crowds and people that are watching. There's a lot to be learnt from that. And a lot of value to be had.
Yeah, the Nighttime Drama Southern series is pretty cool, just kind of bringing together artists from... Yeah, this is the second Southern series, and Nighttime Drama will continue to do their compilation series. Yeah, compilation's definitely awesome. Just a label like Nighttime Drama, and there's been numerous labels, you know, kind of similar, where it's basically trying to focus more on, well, especially at the moment with Nighttime Drama, trying to focus more on Australian techno, is awesome. And I don't know, I think people tend to think that maybe there are less channels than what there are in electronic music. Kind of, I don't know, listening to both these guys, kind of feeling as if they're a little bit outside of things. But I don't know, I think there's definitely, the only limitation for people is their expectations and of what the current climate is, and that, you know, at the end of the day, all of us are just people, you know, passionate about what we do and are going to create it. Like, we're the creators. So as long as there's people like us, there's going to be opportunities. So, yeah. And in terms of, like, versus vinyl and digital, you know, I think digital is, you know, is still an awesome medium, and there's lots of opportunity to, like, present music digitally in a very interesting way that perhaps people haven't always, you know, they don't expect yet, but it will, you know, it will be coming in the future. But yeah, just the way that you package digital music to make it a little bit less expendable, I think, is important. Like, putting more love and energy into how that music is presented, basically, and then it has just the same amount of merit as vinyl does.
Another question for you. We're sort of going to talk a lot about collaboration, which seems to be much of what's going on in the scene today. So, and for you again, Rob, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, is it Addy? Addy? Tell us about that. What is that?
So, Addy was a project started by Michelle Eisenfeld in Sweden, which was basically just a community-run project where every single person involved was contributed financially, musically, into every aspect of the project. But unfortunately, that project kind of fell by the wayside a little bit as Michelle went into studies, and the whole kind of organisation of that has gone south. But yeah, it was an awesome project that I was very enthusiastic about. Just the whole aspect that there was a worldwide community focused around, you know, a particular kind of, not necessarily a particular sound, but I guess a kind of, I don't know, vibe, culture. And they're all enthusiastic to, yeah, collaborate. And we did for a few releases, but it's kind of just fallen off to the side a little bit. But that's not to say that something like that can't, you know, happen again. And I hope that there are more projects like that. Yeah, where basically there's a community, a worldwide community of people that are contributing to one idea. Yeah.
So, and this sort of is for all of you guys making the music. So, and I think we've sort of touched on it, but how hard is it to be heard as an artist now? You know. Sorry. Won't do that again.
Oh, look, it's fair to say the more promotion that you're prepared to do, the more chance you've got of reaching people. But I would say the main difference that I've seen, I guess, from my early career to where I am today, is that there's probably another million people that make music. And
there's a million DJs buying the music, though.
Sure, but
5, 10.
I think, you know, things like education, technology, all of these things have allowed far more people to be able to produce electronic music. And when we started, I think that's what we wanted. We want everybody to have a voice, and that has happened. Right? There's been, you know, unlimited number of releases and artists that making music every week. It was like that at the beginning, but when you put it into perspective, those numbers were much, much smaller, and it was just, we were fortunate that we tapped in at an early time to be part of it. But yeah, the number is the sheer magnitude of people that are producing music that you're competing with. Okay.
Right, can I flip that? Because pretty much the rest of the panel, you're all DJs. Sorry, Kath. How hard is it to buy music? You know, like, my God, there's so much out there. What do you do? Anyone? Yep.
Well, I personally feel that you just play what you like. You know, like, there's so many songs out there that are similar to other songs that are out there, but there's so many different ways that you can play those songs. You know, whether it is you are playing it vinyl and you're just keeping it really stripped back and keeping it quite normal, or maybe you want to loop the hell out of it and transform it into your own kind of sound. So there's so much different music out there. Every day, every week, I stumble across some amazing stuff. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but you can if you want to hear something, you can find it. You just have to put your efforts into it. Otherwise, you know, you may as well just listen to the radio and Shazam it.
It is 100% a buyer's market. Like Damo said, there's more music technology. Music production is more accessible than ever before. Yeah, in terms of getting heard as an artist, again, so like, there's a lot more listeners now to electronic music than there ever has been before. And really, as an artist, how many listeners do you really need to be, you know, successful in your own eyes? That's the question. Is that, what are your goals exactly? Like, there doesn't need to be thousands upon thousands of listeners of your music for you to be a successful artist. You successful is you meeting your own goals, and it could be a group of, you know, 500 people across the world listening to your music with, you know, a lot of love and appreciation is all that you need. So, and I think that there's more than enough people out there to to get that. So it's really just a matter of making the music that you love, connecting with people, and putting it out there, and it will happen as long as you stick with it. Simple as that, I think.
And just to sort of draw this bit to a close, so any advice for any aspiring bedroom, music makers out there, guys?
Make what you love, enjoy it, and just keep on making it, basically. Don't really think of anything else. It's the only thing that matters. Find out where it goes later, basically. Anyone else? Daniel? Rob?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like, not getting caught up in some sort of like race or what you think it should be being a music producer. Just make music for yourself, and realize that what you're actually doing is making art, and that it's a way of expressing yourself, and that you need to. It's basically self-exploration through music, and that it's a long game. It's not something that's going to happen, overnight. It's going to be a constant thing, and it should just be a part of your life, and you should be happy to do it regardless. And then, if something comes of it, then awesome. If it doesn't, too bad. At least you have, an enjoyable pastime of music that you hopefully share with lots of people. Yeah. So yeah, just stick with it, basically.
Okay, so thank you, guys. So now we're going to sort of venture into the local event scene, which just seems to be happening despite all the hardships we've had of late. So I'm going to ask you, Kath, first up. Well, first of all, congrats on Front Room turning 5. 6? All right, well, so I'm going to ask you, what changes have you seen out there in those 6 years that you've been doing Front Room?
Oh God. Okay, the great thing is it's somehow the scene has thrived during a pandemic, which is amazing, and just so many new groups doing really cool stuff. You've got Josh and Claude over here with Small City Systems, it's been Lizzy, the Open guys, all the the older promoters who are just still doing really cool stuff. So it's amazing to see that we're getting more numbers than ever at shows. So to answer yes, we're, the scene seems to be growing, which is amazing. Yeah.
Again for you, Kath. I did my fair share of international shows, and I know that it was always pretty tough to, within a budget to do that. So how is that going? How hard is it to find good international acts now? And you do it for the money or for the love? Well, we know the answer to that, right?
That's a really good question. We do it for the love, because here in Adelaide, there's not really any money in it unless you're doing the larger scale shows, which generally we don't tend to put the money into those. Like you have the big agencies from... Absolutely, yeah. So we're lucky in that we get to be part of shows like that where we don't have to have a financial interest, but we get to be a part of it. Look, the acts cost so much money that honestly, a lot of the time it's really not viable. It's so much money. Just anything from, honestly, $4,000 to $10,000 for an act, and then more for the really big names, which you just can't do here in Adelaide unless it is at a festival or of that scale of a show. So yeah, we definitely do it for the love. But it's a bonus when you sometimes you might make a bit of money, which is nice. But yeah, not all the time. You do it because you love it. Straight back. Yeah, straight into the next show. Yeah.
So Glenn, I'm going to throw this one over to you again. Like, talking about love and passion, your website, looks like a labour of love. But also, like, how did this concept of, the record shop inside a barber, which I'm coming in for a shave and a coffee soon, yep. How did that come about? Please share.
I'm heaps better when I talk in my barbershop, trust me. Yeah. But what do I do? Yeah. Well, yes, that's another story, Jamie. No, but like for me, like community is like, that's almost just as important as music. You know, you can sit at home and play music and make music and do it all yourself, which most people that know me know that that's what I'm about. But growing up in a small country town in Victoria, I always wanted to be part of something bigger. You know, and music was a huge part of my life, but I was always looking at Adelaide, looking at Melbourne, all that stuff. So I moved to Adelaide and I created my own little community. I created my barbershop. I created my family, my job, my life and everything. And then COVID happened. And I personally, like, I fell back in love with music and I started to attend to these events and see this amazing community that I wasn't a part of. And I wanted to be a part of it. I got to meet, you know, like my friend down there, Ryan Cantwell. He just said, jump in my car, I'm taking you to the beach and we're going to listen to music. And then the next day he said, jump in my car again, we're going to go to this park and we're going to listen to music. And that's what I wanted to bring into my shop. I wanted to bring that community. You know, we already spoke about music and how amazing it is, and that's the thing that we all connect in. But community, like, we've got nightclubs and we've got that 5 o'clock dragon that we're all chasing, or we used to when we were a bit younger. But what do you do on a Wednesday when you're a little bit older and you're a little bit kind of slower and you just want to talk to someone about techno? You know, I know what I do. I grab a coffee, put a record on, or play something on Spotify or whatever it may be, or Shazam this on the weekend, or I took this photo of someone's record, or whatever it is. And I've tried to create that in my shop, like, and that's why I did it, really. And anyone that's come into my shop and spoken to me without a phone, you should be able to figure that out pretty quickly of how I feel about it all, you know, because music's going to be around forever and everything like that, but what we're creating today, or what was created back in the day for us to use today, that's what we're doing. You know, we're doing it again. We're not having to look out at Melbourne, Sydney, Berlin, all that stuff. We've got it here. Like, and you come into the shop and you dig through that homegrown crate and you realise, oh crap, like, this is pretty good. Look, this is really, really good. And then when you can speak to those people or see them at a party, because it's not that hard to do it, you just go to the party. Or you just hang out in my shop for quick enough, like, or for long enough, and you'll meet that person that you really, really, really think's like really cool. And that's what I do it for. Like, you know, I'm sorry, I'm really selfish. I'm a nerd. I just want to hang out with cool people and talk about stuff that I think's really, really cool. So yeah.
Pepsi, Tim, is it? So community digital radio with Bound, is that right? So how hard, and again with the YouTube channel that you've got, how hard is it to get people listening? And Patrick, tell us a little bit about Bound, because you do events as well.
Yeah, so that was a bit loud. So I'll just start off. So I'm running Bound along with Andy sitting over there. We started up early last year, and we didn't really start with digital radio in mind. We more began because we wanted to throw some parties. But as you all know, there was some complications with COVID, so we thought we'd move onto a digital platform where we could keep doing the things we love, and also use it as a platform to share some of the music that other people around Adelaide are digging and listening to. And it grew really quickly, and we got to where we are today because I think we're riding on the back of something really special that's developing here. There's lots of different crews that have supported us. and it's a really healthy sort of ecosystem that's growing. In terms of getting people to listen digitally, it's obviously a pretty small scale thing. It's not really our goal to have lots of people listening. It's more to sort of catalogue what we were listening to at this point in time, and then hopefully looking back in 10 years or 20 years and having all these shows that we can go back to and we can say, oh, I remember this specific party where we found these tracks, or I remember when this record came out and really wanted to play that record, so we made a radio show for it. And yeah, I think it's more so just about contributing in our way than getting people to listen digitally. But I think it is something quite special that you can share it using social media. And yeah, I think it's steadily growing, and there's lots of people locally that sort of tune in to each show. So yeah, hopefully we can just keep building on that and keep improving.
So a couple of things. So that definitely, being of the vintage of the mixtape, it seems like a lot more practical means of keeping music. But I also want to know who writes the narratives. There's some good narratives on there about the music, the context, the listening context. Which one of you writes those?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, well, they're good. Keep it up. I'm also interested, you've done some shows, you've had jazz performance. Love it.
Yeah, so just over the weekend, we held an event at Wine Bar over in Stepney called Ferg's. We wanted to try something a little different, so we brought in a jazz band, and we had some pretty well-established local DJs in addition to ourselves. I think the idea behind bringing in a jazz band was to introduce new people to the scene. I think it's definitely growing, and every opportunity we get to sort of showcase what dance music is to new faces, I think that's really important, and it is a really good opportunity that we have to take while there is a bit of momentum. And I think perhaps there's a bad reputation with dance music and drug culture and things like that, and we want to contribute and show our sort of version of the story where it is a really fun atmosphere, it's a friendly atmosphere. We're like touching on local music, Australian music, and we're really pushing like what local artists have, and local venues as well, have to offer.
So while I was researching, because I don't know these young crews here, and I just could not believe that you all came out of 2021. Is that correct? Like you started like putting on, well, I suppose you were forced to do ticketed parties because of COVID, but I'm going to ask you guys, so how did Open come about?
Bit of a mixed bag. I think part of it was, there was definitely an element of, we were out of the scene for a little while. I was living overseas. At the time, it was like, how do we try and lock into this community with this music that we love, and how can we just create something? And when COVID hit, it was like, we couldn't even go out to meet people to hear the music. And it was a bit of a, well, why complain? Just do something. So, the first Open started, Seb played at Rymal Park. There was like 15 people, 20 people, and we just set up speakers in the park, and we're like, whatever, we'll just play some music and see what happens. And it just, Tom?
Yeah, I think we came from production like 12 years ago or whatever, and then the music in Adelaide was terrible. In 2010, it was very bad, and we all went away, and we thought we were retired from it all, and it's all over. Adelaide has no hope. And it started getting really good before COVID, and we're like, oh no, the momentum's going to die. So it kept carrying through with like Spin Lizzy, Us, Bound, and a few others just like doing the same, like just every weekend. It was sick. So it's still going. And now it's come out the other side, and now we're here. So this is pretty cool. Back in warehouses and pubs and wherever we can put beats. It's great. Yeah, we do it for the money, obviously. And we'll probably leave it there. No.
So Jamie, Spin Lizzy. Now you seem to be the king of like collaboration, cross promotion. Tell us about Spin Lizzy.
Yeah, sure. I'm a bit nervous, but here we go. Spin Lizzy. So 6 tryhards spinning music for a few years, maybe a year or two. 3 of us went to a little underground festival called O0 in 2019, I think. And honestly, like, we were entry-level DJs. I saw Seb play, I saw Sleazy play. I learned who Fildo was, I met Lenny. Like, that was a real pivotal point for us. Fast forward to maybe January, we went out to Open, we saw guys playing again. Went to Seb's Snake Pit party, and then we're like, well, this is pretty cool. Maybe we'll put an event on. Put an event on, Seb played for us, and from there it really just spiraled. So each show we've tried to get another DJ to play for us. Coming out of last year, I think we had 35 DJs play for us. Trying not to repeat too much, but everyone in this room who I look at now, I didn't know 2 years ago at all. I was just a nerd working. And now I've got so many new friends, so many new people to collaborate with. So that's where Spin Lizzy came from. We're going to try and stay local each month, maybe every 2-3 months, try and throw an event. And yeah, it's crazy. Like, social media is so powerful. We've got an Instagram page and we just share stuff and try and help everybody. That's what I like to do. I don't think it's a competition. I think we could work a lot better together still. There's a lot to come. It's not a competition, but if everyone in this room came together and said, hey, let's throw a 3-day event, like, imagine what we could achieve. So that would be good to see in the future. But yeah, that's sort of Spin Lizzy ethos. Yeah. I guess my thought on this is that at the moment, the entry level of music in Adelaide is really lame. Teenagers and people, early 20s, go out, they're sort of looking for music like the Woolshed or Red Square, like, as opposed to other cities, the entry level isn't quite nice music. So I would say that everything we're doing technically is underground, because if I tell a friend, they don't know, they're like, oh, that party, that like doof you went to in the park looked amazing. So I still think it is underground. There is more underground events than people throwing parties at clubs, but I still think it is underground and it's sick. More people, each show, new people coming out, you're exposing them to the underground scene. And I just think more education. I think there's so much talent here. If every club in Adelaide was heroing actual good music instead of K-San by Cold Chisel, we'd be laughing. So that's probably my view on underground, but yeah.
I just wanted to elaborate on that. I have to agree with you with that. Something that Heath and I have been really passionate about doing is, because we do have so much talent here, is putting them on a world scale in terms of just having them play at bigger shows. Yeah, that's our aim and our goal, is to have you guys, play to big crowds, play on a festival stage and play with big names. And that all comes about by everyone, I think, working together, and yeah, just supporting each other. And I do believe that the scene is growing. Just as Jamie said, just all got to keep working together, and I think things will keep progressing.
I actually have something to say about the whole underground thing, because, back in the day it was very much them and us. But I'm also now the mother of teenagers, 2 of whom of clubbing age, and I think Spotify has a lot to answer for. I come from a place where, mixing, give me good mixing, and just to put it on a playlist. just breaks my heart. So thank you, all of you people who are, keeping the art alive, buying records and dancing. Yay! Right, Dames, anything to say about Are We Still Underground? we could probably go all night with that one. You want to say the same?
Sitting in the worst spot. I just think Adelaide's always been underground by default. We've never had... I know that we talked about the big parties back in the day, but those big parties encompassed all dance music that was available at the time. Techno itself was more focused on the smaller, odd crew that got together and celebrated a more extreme music. So the roots of Adelaide Techno are very much underground. It wasn't the norm of... No, not the norm. It didn't have all the ravers and everything lining up to get to a techno gig. It was really those that were open-minded about music. So,
and lots of boys.
So by default, Adelaide is underground. And if we had a population of Melbourne, it probably wouldn't be the same. Yep. So I think just our very nature is very much an independent, focused community.
Anyone else want to make a comment on that? Anyone? Yep.
Yeah, and on the whole underground thing, obviously the people that are really into techno, most of us are quite nerdy by default, really lock in and focus. Yeah. But it's been interesting, at least, like one of our focus with Open has also been how can we create experiences that will seem appealing perhaps to people who haven't discovered that music and make it feel cool, seem like accessible, and create almost like a gateway to create happy memories and experiences that they can associate with a musical genre that they might write off otherwise. And through that, hopefully we can onboard new people who may have never given it a chance before and create that positive association with the memories and experiences they create. Yeah.
So when I put these questions together, I sent out one that said, was a bit ambitious, and asked everybody if they had one hope for the future, what that might be. Oh.
I didn't think about it too much, but just when Jamie mentioned before about the whole 3-day thing, but before I say anything about that, I started the Adelaide House and Techno Facebook group quite a few years ago in hopes that promoters would start collaborating and work together. And it's awesome to see that that's actually finally happening, and it's happening to the degree that it is now. That's amazing. And really, yeah, it's us that are just super duper passionate that just get together and just start doing things. That's where shit happens. And if we all work together, exactly, sky's the limit. So yeah, my absolute fucking dream would be like some sort of unsound kind of thing where there's tons of crews, each have their own kind of thing, everyone's collaborating with each other with all different types of mediums of arts, and we really showcase what fucking Adelaide has to offer, because there's a shitload.
Well, actually, I was going to say, we're going to hand the mic to Seb now, because I know he's got some aspirations for the future. So tell us, Seb.
Yes, Seb. Right, now it's my turn to be nervous. Well, look, we were having a good discussion the other day, and I've spoken to a few people over the last few weeks about where to take Adelaide Techno Convention. It started out in the rowing club on the river. We did 2 years there. Great parties, but it always had the ability to grow into something really collaborative rather than just me picking some DJs to play. So then 2019, tried something really ambitious, and we did 5 events, and that was a really great year. And obviously we had a bit of a setback over the last few years. So last year we did something really nice and compact in a 4-hour event at RCC, which was really lovely. But this year I wanted to get back on track with, okay, where can we take this collaboration idea? And yes, okay, I'm here picking DJs to play, but I don't want it to necessarily be always in that kind of a model. So essentially, I think moving forward, it needs to be something where we have almost like a techno Christmas, where it's a weekend or 3 days of various events. It doesn't need to be necessarily a doof, but almost like a mini ADE, where we've got events which are curated, all promoted under the banner of Adelaide Techno Convention, but the different promoters are running events. So there could be someone doing an ambient night, a dub techno night, there could be someone doing a cinema, a talk, all of this sort of thing, but it's all curated and organised in a collaborative way. And I think that could work really well. So, you know, that's sort of the direction that I want to take it in. I don't want it to be me just sort of like, oh, cool, you know, just picking everything to go. But yeah, so, and excuse my nerves, I do get nervous talking in front of everyone. But yeah, that's essentially, I think, where Adelaide Techno Convention can go. I do think it suits the urban environment, it suits the split up venues and different experiences. So one day you might go over there, another day, another evening you go over there. But I love the idea as well of like a 3-day event where everyone gets together and it just keeps on going. I think that could be great as well. You know, I love the idea of that. I'll pass on.
It's been a long time since we've seen anything that's had a few rooms even, you know, or a chill-out zone or anything like that. So the sky's the limit, right? Anyone else want to add anything on aspirations, dreams, hopes?
Can I say one thing?
No, you've said enough. Yeah.
I'll say something, but I'm going to throw Tim under the bus because he just said he had an idea.
I didn't actually say that, but I think the thing was, like, so I had these aspirations maybe a year ago that there would be, as Glenn was saying before, a community that I could be a part of and that I could contribute to. And I think it's really good because I'm seeing that everywhere I look. There's so many talented people and people throwing on good parties, and there is that community. You know, you can go to Glenn's shop and you can, like I met George there. I met Fildo there. There's a bunch of people, so there's always a space for that. And I think my aspiration now for Adelaide and for our scene is that you can go out. It's hard to put a quantitative number on it, but you could go out every weekend and there could be something new and exciting every weekend, and you can walk into one of multiple spaces and be surprised. And I think it's really exciting because it definitely appears to be trending that way. And I'm sure with increased collaboration and everyone doing the things that they're doing, it won't be long before we can get there.
All I had to say is I think moving forwards, I still think there's a real challenge with finding venues to hero our music and our talent. So I think we just need to keep working together. Every time a new venue puts an opportunity out to celebrate what we do, it shows other people that it's possible there. So, you know, like, hats off to you guys for finding venues. Hats off to you guys for finding venues. Everyone here, I think, just keep working that. There's no single umbrella venue that celebrates what we do. There's a huge gap in the market there. If I had 500K, I'd open a venue tomorrow, but I think we just have to keep working together on venues and trying to find some way to keep putting shows on and showcasing what we're doing and just building and building and building in a slow, periodic way until we get bigger and bigger. Yeah, open up Cookie, yeah. There's a guy playing tomorrow, I think, that you can talk to about that.
So we kind of covered what I wanted to cover, but is there anyone out there who would like to add anything in the audience or has any questions, perhaps? No? Yeah. It's a lifestyle.
We used to be
We used to party, we used to club every weekend from Thursday to Sunday. Is that not right? And do it all again the next week. Yeah. For I reckon, how many years did we do that? Like, when it wasn't happening, you were in your bedroom.
Yeah, that's a great question. I was actually sort of pondering that today and about how big Adelaide can go. And I think at the moment we're certainly at a point in time where 150 you might not want to go bigger than that. And I think you can do something really special with a room of 100 or 150 people. I don't know if having 1,000 people is all that appealing. Hopefully in the future it gets to the point where that can become viable, but I think we really have to capture the attention and capture the minds of new people and bring them into our scene, and we're all doing that in our own ways. But yeah, I think for the time being, you can do incredible things with a small room.
And I also think something that's important for frequency is promoting a safe environment. It's not about alcohol and drugs, it's about music. Like, I go out a lot. Like, I see you two. I saw, it's like Snake Charmer and Sleazy. You guys don't drink sometimes. It's you're going out to dance and have fun with people and listen to music. The bad connotation behind house and techno is that you're rinsing yourself all the time, whereas you can go out for 4 nights and chill and have some coconut water and maybe a drink here and there. If we keep pushing that, I know that, trust me, you want to have a good night sometimes, but if you keep pushing a nice culture of that as well, you can create more frequency and more people coming to your events as well. That's the one, sustainability.
Yeah, not all forms of electronic music or even techno is like specifically for early mornings. There's opportunities for parties to be running. Like, it's awesome to see that Seb's doing this day party and then also the recovery party. Like, there's no reason why there can't be parties happening at any time of day. It's at the end of the day, it's just people come together for the music they love. So yeah, we don't have to fucking get rinsed all the time. Just enjoy each other's company and enjoy the music. That's it. Doesn't need to be any more than that.
I think Jamie hit on a good point there. Those of us who are a little bit older have seen the scene, the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, and I can firsthand say that there have been lulls in the scene as a result of, maybe the people gone too heavy on the whole drug scene. The scene's imploded in on itself, and it's taken a while to regenerate. So having that in mind and not having that at the forefront of, we need that to enjoy the music, we need that to have a good time, I think is a really important part to keep the scene healthy and keep longevity in it, rather than, I think that's about it.
And that's why we have, like, for me, like, why I wanted to do the YouTube channel. Because you're not going to be listening to that maybe on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday. So we release it on a Monday. It's the same as Sleazy and the Silent Palace stuff. This is the stuff that, you can listen to as you're getting hyped up to go out. And the Yaks invites, I can't miss that because that's stupid. They're stupid good. But it isn't just about rinsing yourself, going crazy. You can listen to the music, on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then do all the other stuff on the weekend. Yep.
Anyone? No?
I'll just say for, I guess, aspirations for Adelaide, I think, and out of no disrespect to any of the guys that put on all the parties that everybody goes out to, because that's a major part of what you need for it to all survive. I think what's really critical, if we want to be proud of an Adelaide music scene, is that we have to be proud of the Adelaide music that's actually made. And I think supporting Adelaide recorded music, would be great to see that as a focal point, and that's what the DJs were keen to play before they were out there picking some record that came from another country or another city, not out of any disrespect to those places, but if you really want a thriving scene, it'd be great to have thriving artists whose music was heard in those environments.
Does that mean live shows as well?
Well, live shows, any Adelaide-based recorded music being the core of what's driving the music scene, not necessarily a hit record that might be happening in Berlin. It might be a record that was recorded or a song that was recorded in Adelaide in the past week that their mate is now DJing at a party, and that Adelaide record becomes the hit, not that record that was made in Berlin becomes the hit. Yep. You know, trying to focus an Adelaide sound into the Adelaide parties, not the international sound into the Adelaide parties. Make it something a little bit more unique to the city.
Okay, good one. Did anyone out there want to ask anybody on the panel a question? No? Okay. So, well, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. Thank you to the panel, the diverse bunch. I didn't quite know how that was all going to work. Thank you, Seb, for doing this. So hopefully we are going to continue on that collaborative route. So keep listening, keep dancing, and let's talk and let's do some fucking amazing things. Okay, here's to us.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out. I know it's a Friday night and everyone's probably quite tired, but it's lovely to have everyone after work drinks. And it's just so nice to see all of these faces that I'm regularly in touch with a lot of people, but just to have them all in one room is just so cool. So we've got a couple of events tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to getting down on the fucking dance floor. So, yeah. Beautiful. So Eloise is actually going to be playing at the front bar for a little while this evening. Hopefully stick around, have a drink, have some food, and enjoy the rest of the Friday night. Thank you.